Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a story that'll touch your heart and remind you of the unbreakable bond between a soldier and his loyal companion. It is about a canine dog who jumped onto a veteran's body at his funeral, and what happened next left everyone in tears, revealing a legacy of love and sacrifice. This is At the Funeral. A canine dog jumped onto the veteran's body. What happened next left everyone in tears. It's an ultra-realistic, heartwarming tale that'll move you deeply, so stick around. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive in. It was a chilly morning on March 24th, 2025, in the small town of Bozeman, Montana. The sky was a pale gray, and a light breeze rustled the pine trees surrounding the Bozeman Veterans Cemetery. The air carried the scent of damp earth and fresh flowers as a crowd of mourners gathered for the funeral of 38-year-old Army veteran Sergeant Dave Mitchell. Dave had served 2 tours in Afghanistan as a canine handler working alongside his German Shepherd, Ranger, to detect explosives and save countless lives. But a year ago, Dave had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia, a result of exposure to toxic burn pits during his service. Despite a valiant fight, he passed away, leaving behind his wife Emily, their 10-year-old daughter Ava, and his loyal canine partner Ranger. The cemetery was filled with the soft hum of a bugle playing taps, the notes echoing through the quiet morning. Dave's flag-draped coffin rested on a stand surrounded by wreaths of white roses and red carnations. Emily, a 35-year-old nurse with dark hair and tear-streaked cheeks, stood beside Ava, who clutched a small American flag, her blue eyes wide with grief. Dave's fellow soldiers, some in dress uniforms, with medals glinting on their chests, formed an honor guard, their faces stoic but heavy with loss. Ranger, now 8 years old, sat at Emily's side, his black and tan fur gleaming in the muted sunlight, a service harness on his back. The dog's amber eyes were fixed on the coffin, his ears twitching at every sound, as if waiting for Dave to call his name. Pastor Michael, a gray-haired man who'd known Dave since he was a boy, delivered the eulogy, his voice steady but emotional. Dave Mitchell was a hero, he said, not just on the battlefield, but in our community. He loved his family, his country, and his dog Ranger, who was more than a partner. He was family. Emily squeezed Ava's hand, trying to hold back her sobs, but the weight of her loss was crushing. Dave had been her high school sweetheart, the man who'd proposed to her under the stars at Yellowstone, the father who taught Ava how to ride a bike. Now he was gone, and Emily didn't know how to fill the void. As the honor guard prepared to fold the flag, Ranger suddenly stood, his body tense, a low whine escaping his throat. Emily reached to calm him, but before she could, the dog bolted forward, leaping onto the coffin with a soft thud. The crowd gasped, some stepping back, others frozen in shock. Ranger lay across the coffin, his head resting on the flag, his amber eyes glistening as he let out a mournful howl that echoed through the cemetery. Ava's voice broke the silence, her small hand reaching out. "Ranger, no!" she cried, but Emily held her back, tears streaming down her face. "Let him," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He's saying goodbye." The mourners watched in stunned silence as Ranger nuzzled the coffin, his paws gently pawing at the wood as if trying to wake Dave. The dog's grief was palpable, a raw expression of loss that mirrored their own. One of Dave's squad mates, a burly man named Tom, wiped his eyes, his voice thick. "They were inseparable," he said to the soldier beside him. "Ranger saved Dave's life more times than I can count. In Afghanistan, Ranger had sniffed out IEDs, once dragging Dave to safety during an ambush, his loyalty unwavering even under fire. When Dave retired, he'd fought to adopt Ranger, refusing to leave his partner behind. As Ranger lay on the coffin, something caught Emily's eye, a small metal tag on his collar, one she hadn't noticed before. It was engraved with a tiny heart, and the words, "For Emily and Ava, love, Dave." Attached to the tag was a rolled-up piece of paper secured with a thin string. Emily's heart pounded as she gently lifted Ranger off the coffin, the dog's body heavy but compliant, and untied the paper. Her hands shook as she unrolled it, revealing a letter in Dave's handwriting. The crowd leaned in, their breaths held, as Emily read aloud, her voice breaking with every word. "My dearest Emily and Ava," the letter began. "If you're reading this, I'm not with you anymore. I wrote this during my last hospital stay because I wanted you to know I'll always be with you. Ranger's been my guardian, and now he's yours. I've left something for you at our special place under the oak tree at the lake. Follow Ranger. He'll show you. I love you both forever. Dave. Emily's knees buckled and she sank to the ground, clutching the letter to her chest as sobs racked her body. Ava wrapped her arms around her mother, her small voice trembling. "What does Daddy mean, Mommy?" she asked. Emily looked at Ranger, who was now sitting beside her, his amber eyes fixed on her with an almost human understanding. "He means we need to go to the lake," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The mourners, still reeling from Ranger's act, offered to join them, but Emily shook her head. "This is something we need to do alone," she said, her heart heavy but hopeful. That afternoon, Emily, Ava, and Ranger drove to Lake McDonald in Glacier National Park, a place where Dave had taken them every summer. The lake shimmered under the cloudy sky, its surface rippling with the breeze. And the oak tree, their oak tree, stood tall on the shore, its branches heavy with leaves. Dave had carved their initials into the trunk years ago, a symbol of their family's love. Ranger led the way, his tail wagging slightly as he trotted to the tree, then began to dig at the base, his paws kicking up dirt with purpose. Emily and Ava watched, their hearts pounding, as Ranger unearthed a small wooden box, its surface engraved with a heart and the words, "For my girls." Emily opened the box, her hands trembling, and inside found a stack of letters, a family photo, and a small silver locket. The photo showed the three of them at the lake 2 summers ago, Dave laughing as he held Ava on his shoulders, Emily smiling beside them, Ranger sitting proudly at their feet. The letters were written by Dave during his hospital stays, each one a message of love and encouragement for Emily and Ava. "I'll always be proud of you," one letter read. "Keep being brave, my little Ava. And Emily, you're the strongest woman I know." The locket contained a tiny photo of Dave and Ranger in Afghanistan, a reminder of the bond that had carried them through war and beyond. Emily and Ava sat under the oak tree, reading the letters through their tears, Ranger lying beside them, his head resting on Emily's lap. "Daddy knew we'd need him," Ava said, her voice soft as she clutched the locket. Emily nodded, her heart swelling with love and gratitude. Dave had known his time was short, and he'd left them a treasure, a piece of his heart to guide them through their grief. Inspired by Dave's final gift, Emily decided to honor his memory in a way that would help others. She used the savings Dave had left to start a therapy program for veterans and their families, with Ranger as the star. Ranger, who'd been trained to detect stress in soldiers, became a certified therapy dog, visiting VA hospitals and community centers to comfort those struggling with PTSD and grief. At a center in Bozeman, Ranger sat with children of fallen soldiers, his gentle presence bringing smiles to their faces. Ava often joined them, proudly telling the kids, "Ranger was my daddy's best friend. He helps us feel better." The lake became a place of healing, too. Emily organized an annual gathering called Dave's Day, where families of veterans could visit the oak tree, share stories, and find solace. A plaque was placed by the tree reading, "In memory of Sergeant David Mitchell, a hero, a father, a friend." At the first Dave's Day, Tom and other soldiers from Dave's unit attended, sharing stories of his bravery. "He'd be proud of this," Tom said, his voice thick as he watched Ranger play with the children. Emily smiled, her heart full, knowing Dave's love lived on in every life they touched. Ranger, Emily, and Ava became a family of 3, their bond strengthened by Dave's legacy. Every summer, they returned to the lake, sitting under the oak tree, reading Dave's letters and feeling his presence in the rustling leaves. Ranger, now graying around the muzzle, still looked out at the water, as if sensing Dave's spirit. The dog who jumped onto his partner as Coffin had led them to a gift that healed their hearts, proving that love and loyalty could transcend even death. This story shows us that love can guide us through the darkest times, even from beyond the grave. Ranger's act at the funeral uncovered a legacy that brought healing to so many. What's a moment of love that's touched your life? Share your stories in the comments. I'd love to hear them. If this story warmed your heart, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a little hope today.